Now, it was an invitation described as strange even before the man involved could speak. His party's communication team had an entrenched position. Samuel Ofosu Ampofo will not show up at the CID headquarters. Now, the NDC national chairman's lawyers have this afternoon written to the police CID declining their invitation to show up and assist in investigations into widespread kidnappings and fire outbreaks. Now, the party's Council of Elders has been holding crunch meetings on the matter. My colleague Komla Adum was at the NDC headquarters. He joins us now. Komla, a fascinating event. This is the party responding to an invitation from the police to a member of their party, albeit their chairman.
Yes.
But the police invited the chairman, not the party.
No.
But the party has responded with a letter saying, we won't let him come. Tell us more about what was shared at this event.
Well, Kojo, it's, as you mentioned, it's interesting that the Council of Elders of the NDC had to meet earlier today to discuss, the way forward following the invitation that was extended to Mr. Ofosu Ampofo. And so at this particular press conference, Vice Chair of the Council, Alhaji Mahama Idrisu, was categorical. He says the chairman of the party, Samuel Ofosu Ampofo, will not honor the invitation of the CID today. He will not also further cooperate with the CID on any future invitations relating to some of these things that the CID has cited for which reason they have invited him. So he mentioned specifically that some of these invitations by the CID is intimidation, it is a ploy to harass the NDC chairman and also other members of the NDC as they gear up for the 2020 elections. Let's listen to him.
Latest invitation, in our view, is yet another case of intimidation and harassment being employed by the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government, using the instrumentality of the police to instill fear in our chairman and supporters of our party and to suppress dissenting voices in the country. A few months ago, the police, based on a supposed leaked tape, invited the same national chairman of our party for questioning. Subsequent to that invitation, charges were brought against him and our deputy communication officer, Mr. Kweku Boahen, for which they are currently appearing before court. Owing to the pendency of the matter before the court, we will refrain from commenting directly on the merits of the case. Suffice it to say that we consider the decision of the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government to prosecute our officials as meticulous and intended to frustrate the work of the NDC and its mobilization towards the 2020 elections. This has been done to divert attention from the growing lawlessness and violent crimes in our country, which stems directly from the inability of the Nana Addo government to fashion out a robust security policy that guarantees the safety of all Ghanaians. We are appalled that COP Mrs. Tua Addo Dankwa, a professional police officer who has risen so high as to be promoted to the rank of Commissioner of Police and appointed Director General of the CID, has allowed herself to be pushed into such an openly partisan position and the peddling of such a wicked lie against our national chairman. The position of the NDC, which we, the elderly members of the party's Council of Elders, have been reluctantly forced to endorse because of the times we are in, is very simple. Enough is enough. We have had enough of the vile intimidation and fortuitous threats. The NDC will not be muffled or unnerved by Police CID Director General who has shown by all her actions to be a partisan and unbiased supporter, nay, member of the NPP. Our national chairman is under any compulsion or obligation to assist the police in their investigations, and the NDC will not allow him to honor the NDC will not allow him to honor such vexatious invitation. If the CID wishes to arrest our national chairman, they can proceed to do so. We call on all our members to show solidarity with our national chairman.
Right, so that happened earlier this afternoon. Komla was there. And what else did we learn while this went on?
Well, Kojo, another issue they charged on was the invitations that's been extended to some appointees, former appointees of government, say ministers of state or former functionaries of government who are standing trial or supposed to answer questions about their stewardship in ministries, departments and agencies. Well, the party's Council of Elders, they are saying that all such ministers of state, former ministers of state, will from now no longer cooperate with such investigative bodies. They will also not attend or honor any invitations extended to them by the CID or any other such bodies that are looking into these matters. Let's listen to the Vice Chair of the Council again.
Former ministers and appointees will no longer answer questions before the numerous inquisition panels and bodies established to harass and persecute them. Neither will they respond to the numerous intrusive and oppressive questionnaires administered to them. The living conditions of the ordinary Ghanaian are getting worse. What is needed is a conscious effort to determine the choices we have to make for our survival and sustainable development. This is what Ghanaians expect of our political leaders and representatives, not political retribution and witch hunting, harassment, and humiliation.
Right, now other developments occurred this afternoon. Komla will walk us through them in just a moment. But before that, in addition to this response from the party to the CID invitation, we also have a letter from Mr. Ofusu-Ampofo's lawyers to the CID. Let's share some details from that letter. It says it's from Anyine and Feli, law officers of Anyine and Feli are the representatives of Ofusu-Ampofo. They say, we act as lawyers for Mr. Samuel Ofusu-Ampofo, the national chairman of the NDC, and have his instructions to respond to your letter dated 7th May. It's common knowledge that our client and one other person are currently the subject of criminal proceedings in court in criminal case number CR 0385 2019 entitled The Republic versus Samuel Ofusu-Ampofo and Anthony Kweku Boahin. The charges against them arose out of investigations your office claims to have undertaken into certain voice recordings after the violence-ridden Ayawaso West Wuogon by-elections. Now, you would recall that when your office claimed to have intercepted the tape, our client, upon honoring your invitation, was arrested and interrogated for several hours by your investigators on suspicion of having committed the offense of kidnapping, among others. Realizing that the statements contained in the unconstitutionally obtained tape could not sustain the charge of kidnapping against our client, your office immediately dropped that charge. Having carefully reviewed your letter against the background of the ongoing prosecution of our client, we are unable to resist the conclusion that your invitation and so-called investigations into kidnapping, arson and other crimes is collateral to the ongoing criminal trial, and that its purpose is partly to prejudice our client's defense. Further, our client views the letter of invitation as reflective of an undeniable pattern of political harassment and intimidation, which violates his fundamental human rights, particularly his constitutional rights to personal dignity and political association, that is devoid of intimidation and harassment. On our part, while we appreciate that every citizen has a constitutional duty to assist law enforcement agencies in the discharge of their mandate, our considered view is that the current invitation constitutes a gross abuse of the investigative and prosecutorial powers of the police as a public institution. We take the respectful view that since our client is not under arrest for the alleged offenses, he is legally entitled to decline your invitation. We have therefore advised him accordingly. Finally, our client has instructed us to make it abundantly clear to you, which we hereby do, that he is a politician, and as the national chairman of the National Democratic Congress, the largest opposition party in the country, he and his party leadership and members cannot help but notice the failing security situation in the country since the present government took office. Your invitation, its tone and insinuations, is simply an attempt to pass the buck and shift the blame over the increasing inability of the security agencies, including your outfit, to manage and control the failures of security and the governance structures of this country as a whole. Looking for scapegoats will not improve the situation. Accept, Madam Director General, the assurances of our highest consideration is the rather ironic way in which that letter ends.